I was telling you about things picked up with the filing in court, and also you open up the sandpaper on Friday, and a letter from Jim Atterholt says it's like an exploratory situation where Jim's considering running for the town council. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be with you. Good to be with you this morning.
First of all, thanks for rearranging your schedule so you come on the day after you kind of announce, not really announce, unless, I mean, you're always welcome to announce right now that you're running for the council, but you're on the LPA.
Yes.
The local planning agency. And how long have you been on the LPA?
For about a year, and that assists the town council with zoning and planning issues, and we're kind of an advisory role for the town, but we hear a lot of the zoning appeals throughout the community, and it's been very, very interesting. Learned a lot about the local community, and gosh, I wrote my wife and I, my wife Brenda's on here, my wife for 32 years, we rode our bikes from the south end of the island along the beach this morning down here to see you. And the energy on the beach this morning is so awesome. And people are just piling in to fill in all the spots on the beach. And I see that as the potential future for our island. I mean, with the new development that's coming down here on the north end of the island, hopefully sooner rather than later, and with the new road on Estero Boulevard and the new bridge on the south end, I mean, the future is very bright for Fort Myers Beach. And I just have a lot of experience from when I served in Indiana in various roles. I just want to see if I can contribute down here to help further that positive future for the island.
Now, the first question is, did you wear a helmet when you rode your bike?
No, not on the beach, I don't.
Oh,
I do on the
okay.
street.
Well, Jim, we're going to have a chat about that after the show, because
but
it only
beach,
takes
I know, but the beach is okay, right? I mean,
I don't know. You
no?
need to set an example, Jim.
All right.
Now, did you ride on the sidewalk when you got here?
No.
Okay, you know that's a violation of the rules,
right.
and nobody follows that rule anyway. So when you're elected, you'll have to do something about that little thing there. So I don't want to interrupt you, dear. I know you got lots of questions.
No, I just wanted to further talk with you about your experience, because you have been in public service for 30 years. Is that true?
Well, kind of in and out, occasionally back to the private sector, but back to public service. When my wife and I grew up in Wisconsin and went to school at University of Wisconsin-Madison, went out to D.C., and she was a Russian linguist for the Department of Defense, and then I worked on Capitol Hill for a member of Congress, and then we decided to start a family, came back to Indianapolis. That's when I then eventually ran for local office, was in the state legislature, served as state insurance commissioner for a few years, then chair of the utility commission, then chief of staff to the governor for a while. So then back and forth to the private sector. And then I started a little consulting business down here. My wife's a nurse and she works from home. And so we love Fort Myers Beach. We've been down here permanently for a couple of years, owned a property even longer than that. My uncle, Jim Steele, who used to be the interim town manager down here, he's lived down here for many years. We always come down to visit Jim, and just fell in love with the island and just really looking for a way to give back and contribute.
Because you had retired up there, and now you're. Has it been even a year that you've been?
It's been a little bit. I was kind of my wife's cabana boy for a while, but I've gotten involved with some boards and some consulting work. The LPA's taken some time, but it's been fun. I'm just looking for. I got on my own local condo board, which is probably a mistake of judgment, but that's been interesting. Learned a lot about the condo world, and certainly condo politics are about as rough as they get. So. I think hopefully this will be a positive experience if I decide to move forward.
So when will you decide? I mean, what's
probably
holding
over the
you
next
back?
few weeks. I just thought it'd be nice to take the temperature of the town, get some input. I've had some beautiful emails, even as a result of that letter to the editor, and people have been very kind and gracious, encouraging. And I wanted to get a sense of what was on people's minds. I've talked to a lot of community leaders, but I wanted to get a chance for everyone to kind of get some input. And the response so far, even after just a day, has been really wonderful. People have given me some ideas, some things to think about. And so I've been very encouraged by it. So far, so good.
So, Jim, what is your opinion on how the council's doing now?
Well, I think how the council is going now is very positive. Like I said before, the future for this island is very bright. This town's in great financial shape. I think we need to just continue to be smart about our growth, but change is not bad. I mean, change could be very positive, and I see the island evolving, particularly recently, in a very, very positive way, and I'd like to be part of continuing that positive vision.
Okay, and what do you think about what happened yesterday? We thought we were on a path to the Margaritaville Resort being built, and then on the very last day that you can file an appeal, Chris Patton and Bob Condigaris file an appeal and halt the project up to, which could be another year delays and cost not only Tom money, but TPI money, but the town. And, you know, you had all these businesses. Somebody along the way must have said, hey, nothing's going to happen at this point. Somebody must have, I mean, The council on Monday made an extra effort to say we need to put these signs in this week because there's going to be thousands and thousands of people here. They push that ahead so they could put the signs in the ground. The signs are in the ground, and then that happened yesterday. What went wrong?
There's a question in there somewhere. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, I think the appeal is crushing, and it's so disheartening to watch. I mean, you literally you all watched it firsthand, but you had 5 council members with disparate views come together, vote unanimously for a plan for a future for this island that was very positive. I thought it was a great compromise. Both sides gave a lot and voted unanimously. So for this lawsuit to question the integrity of the process, where it was about as transparent as you can get. I watched the hearings at both the LPA and at the town council. They went all day long. Everybody had a chance to give their input. Everybody gave a little something. And to question the integrity of that process, to me, is just bizarre, but it's also mean-spirited at this point in time. It's time to move forward and be positive. And that appeal was really just crushing.
What do you think that is going to do to the community?
Well, I don't know the legal dynamics in terms of what kind of impact it'll have. Hopefully the judge will see this for what it's worth, which in my opinion seems like a delay tactic and a stall tactic, which again, very disheartening. And I'm hoping that the courts will move quickly. They don't have a tendency to do that. Right. But I hopefully at a minimum, you can get some due process relatively quickly and move this thing along. I mean, clearly the initial decision was strong. So this appeal should not take a long time.
Do you know much about the legal process? I'm asking because I don't. Can this judge step in a lot quicker than? Is it a different judge? I don't even know that. Could this judge step in and say, "Okay, this is getting crazy. My ruling stands, and this needs to move forward"?
Yeah, the courts are very strange. They can be very, very slow, but when they want to be, they can move quickly. And I would again, considering the unanimous vote of the town council, I would hope the courts would look at that, get a sense that obviously this process was very transparent, very appropriate. And I think it's time to move on, and hopefully the courts will be reactive to that. I don't know how procedurally it'll go, but I try to be optimistic, but I'm hopefully the courts will view this for what it is and deal with it accordingly.
Has anybody at the town level that you know of gone into his office or tried to go into Conor Dieris's office and say, listen, can you be a team player? You claim you've done all this for the community back 50 years. I mean, what's going on here? Why are you doing this? Why do you think he's doing it?
I don't know. I would assume that people were very surprised about the appeal, and so there was no thought of even doing that because people thought we were ready to move forward as a community. So it's really sad. I don't know the backstory, but it's very, very discouraging.
Do you think that the council in any way dropped the ball at any point? And the only reason I ask that is I don't know. But if you looked at Anita's post yesterday, there were a lot of people not a lot, but there were some people that you saw posting underneath her that questioned how it got to this point. Do you think that anything different could have been done, or it has nothing to do with them?
Well, I don't know procedurally. I mean, clearly whoever's interested in stalling this project is going to stop at nothing to do so, which is really unfortunate and sad. And whether you could have tactically prevented that through various legal tactics, I don't know. I mean, the lawyers are involved heavily on both sides. I just think I'm very disheartened by it. And whoever's involved in this, I mean, given again where the community has come almost unanimously, and to thwart the will of the community is very, very sad and unfortunate.
So it's not the only issue on the island. What other issues have gotten you jazzed up that you might want to run for council?
Well, again, things are going so well. I would like to continue that positive vision for the community. On the LPA, we talk a lot about zoning issues. One of the things we talk about that gets to be a little bit inside baseball, but still interesting, is view corridors. Do you want to be like Bonita Springs where you can't even see the ocean from when you're driving along Estero Boulevard? We're going to have this beautiful new Estero Boulevard. So we've been working with the town council to figure out incentives for people who are developing on Estero Boulevard to leave the view corridors between the buildings, leave some space so people can actually see the ocean. When you come out of Publix, you can see the ocean. It's fun. It's neat to know that you're on an island. You go over to Bonita Springs, you can never even see the ocean. And so those are little zoning areas that can just improve quality of life, but we do it with carrots. In other words, you can let a developer maybe build a little higher if their setbacks are greater. You don't plant vegetation in between the two houses, because it'd be nice to see the ocean as you drive up and down that Estero Boulevard, that new Estero Boulevard at some point. But obviously maintaining some fiscal discipline, also reserving appropriate amounts of money for projects that are coming on down the road. Again, the TPI development is going to require a lot of additional decisions, I think, down the road, particularly as entities will kind of improve around the TPI area. So having a council that supports positive growth and thoughtful growth, I think, is important.
Are you in favor of the town hiring a public information officer and a marketing firm?
You mean regarding the name change?
Well, I didn't know they were changing. Are they changing the name?
Well, I mean, there's discussion about branding.
The branding part.
Yeah.
So I think having a professional firm to get a sense of how to best market this island, given our dependency on tourism, is a great idea. And so whether that involves a name change, I have no idea. They're going to gather all the data. I assume they're going to do some polling. I assume they're going to do some testing. And it'd be important for us to keep an open mind and to see what the data shows and see where we need to go as an island.
Would you have voted for the tax increase?
You know, the tax increase is really interesting because if the council's desire was to reserve funds for specific projects in the future that we know we're going to have to incur costs for, then we should say that hey, that's why we're raising the taxes, and here's what that money is going to go for. Otherwise, we're going to have to borrow the money in the future.
Right.
So if you're going to, but you ought to be very specific with the public and say, hey, we're going to need to build a new Bay Oaks. Here's what it's going to cost. We're going to raise the funds. We're going to set it aside, and when we reach that goal, we're going to bring that mill rate back down again, so we don't have to borrow money. I wish Washington would do that.
I was like, I have glasses on, but my eyes, bring it back down.
So I think it'd be much better to just let the public know what the money is going to go for, and then when you reach that goal, bring the mill rate back down again. In other words, it should be for one-time projects that are one-time expenditures.
Great answer.
And then bring that mill rate back down.
So
again.
You're saying they didn't communicate it the way they could have.
I think just a little more specificity would have been helpful to them.
So the answer to the question is yes or no?
Yeah, if you are under the current dynamic, probably not. But if they would have said, "Hey, we need to spend X for this project, Y for this project, and we're going to set aside these funds, protect them, and use them for that purpose only," then I understand why they did what they did. I just think it could have been explained a little bit better.
Should the town rebuild Bay Oaks?
You know, we use Bay Oaks. We lift weights there. A lot of when we go there, pickleball the place is packed with pickleball. But there's sometimes we go there, it's dead. So at a minimum, we ought to look at what it does, what its purpose is, and how it's utilized by the community. But it is a way to bring the community together in many ways. Like for many seniors, that pickleball, it's their whole social life, their whole social experience is to go down there and play pickleball. They meet people, they interact, and the place is packed. The weight room's nice. But again, is it really the government's responsibility to allow people to play pickleball? I mean, isn't that called a gym? It's like a community. It's like a community center. Yeah.
Okay, but it's a different dynamic on Fort Myers
Beach. The government's
Beach.
got to be careful not to be in competition with other private. We don't have a lot of private options on the island for those kind of physical activities. And there's a public health standpoint. You want to encourage people to have physical activity. And the government has somewhat of a role in that, more of an educational role. But I think that's a fair question. We need to talk about how to utilize Bay Oaks in maybe a better, more cost-effective manner.
What's the percentage of the actual residents on Fort Myers Beach that use Bay Oaks?
I don't know, but I'm guessing it's pretty small. I think a lot of residents don't realize it's free for them to use.
I bet you that's true.
Parking's spectacular. And in fairness to the town council, they're working on ways to redesign that area. It's kind of uninviting to get back there and find it. And I think they're going to reorganize that whole midpoint of the island in a very positive way.
Right.
That's another great development I think will really be helpful. And I think that can really help Bay Oaks grow in terms of its exposure and people being able to utilize it a lot more effectively.
Well, that'd be another PIO job.
You see, that's the
thing
that you see. It's a double-edged sword because when you say you're not, when the council says or we criticize the council for not communicating well, they're going to say that's why we need a PIO, and I just think that's a cop-out. I just think they have a website, they have a town manager, and they have council members that are actively in the community. They can all communicate it. They have televised council meetings.
And how many people watch the televised count? All right. So
4 more people than watch ours.
There's a lot that this area has to offer. And I think it would, a lot of people don't know. I mean, when we started coming down here, we didn't know, not that we're beach residents, that's made clear. But I mean, just in the greater community of all the things that are going on down here and all of the things that people can come and enjoy. And that would be one of the things. You have a question for him? No, well, or are you just making a statement? I am making
He's here to answer questions, dear.
Well, I know. So water obviously is a big issue down here. Have you been, I'm sure you've been aware of it.
Well,
what we went through.
Yeah, my wife and I are blessed to live right on the beach.
Okay.
We live up in a condo right on the water. And so we're either running, biking, swimming, or walking on the beach almost every day. And so we saw the devastation last year, and it was horrifying. And the piles of dead fish, the birds, all the marine life that was devastated, the smell, obviously the horrible economic impact it had on the island. So we get that, and it was horrifying. I mean, this you couldn't even open your windows for months. So where I think I can be helpful, I worked for a member of Congress, I worked for a governor, worked in the legislature, served in the legislature. I think I think the state and the federal government has responded very effectively this last year. But here's the challenge. These solutions are really long-term, and the attention span of government is very limited. And there'll be other crises around the country. There'll be other issues around Florida that will distract the focus of our policymakers at the state and federal level. So we need to keep the heat on, because again, the funding for these solutions are long-term. So my suggestion would be to implement a strategy for the town. We have potentially up to tens of thousands of lobbyists who visit our island every year as snowbirds. They're from every state in the country. They love the island. So if we can help them, empower them when they get home to write their member of Congress, write their U.S. senator, give them specific asks for when they contact their member of Congress, saying, please co-sponsor, House Bill 1030, which helps the Everglades, that helps the reservoir system. We have to empower the people who come here every year, love the island. It's a pretty quick task to write a letter and send it to your member of Congress. But I'll tell you, having worked for a member of Congress, they get 5 or 10 letters from constituents in their district. Mm-hmm. They'll call up and they'll say, how can I help? Wow. And so we have to do that almost every year, find out from our Florida delegation, what do they need? What bills do they need supported? And then they have to go back home to Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, New York, wherever. And then they've got to write their member of Congress. And we can help them. We can do it through we have wonderful local newspapers down here. We can do it through direct mail. There's ways to incorporate these people into the system and be our advocates for us, because right now it's not a problem because everybody's focused on it. We've got a national election next year, but a year from now, 2 years from now, people are going to lose interest, not people in Florida, not people on this island, but around the country. And so we've got to keep that pressure on. And all the snowbirds who come here, they're the secret weapon that I think we could utilize better.
So Jim, there's 3 seats open on the council, unless Joanne or Butch or Bruce change their minds, and I haven't heard anything yet. But there are going to be 3 seats open. Have you heard anybody else? Is Megan going to run?
I don't know. I've heard a lot. I've served with Megan on the LP. She's wonderful. Yes. I just don't know if she's running or not. I've not heard. Again, there's a lot of time before the filing deadline, so I'm assuming a lot more people will come forward. But personally, I'm looking for a way to continue to give back. Yeah. Public service has got a heart for public service. I'd like to continue to give back, but
on a scale of 1 to 10, how close are you to saying yes?
I'm pretty close, and I'm only because everybody's been so kind to me. And like I said in my letter, I'm not angry at anybody. I've got no hidden agenda. I've got no axe to grind. I just enjoy public service. I'd like to be able to give back.
Why the hell do you want to get into politics even more? Come on, man. Enjoy.
It's a disease. Yeah. I thought I recovered from it, but I'd like to continue to give back.
Do you see, a town politics as a microcosm for the other situations that you've been involved in?
It's different though down here because the factions aren't party based. Right. They're how long have I lived here? They're where I live on the island. What are my biases? Am I for growth? Am I for business, for resident? I don't think you have to. I don't think being for business or being for residential are mutually exclusive. I think you can figure out a way to help both camps. And so I'm not part of any particular camp or faction. So I like to listen, bring people together, and then solve problems.
But you are in favor of Margaritaville.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would like to say
I support the unanimous decision of our town council. I mean, these are people that were detractors of this project who voted for it. So, I mean, obviously they worked out a good compromise.
This is a conspiracy theory, I know for sure, but there are 3 seats possibly open unless somebody changes their mind. And that doesn't mean that they might not win anyway if they did run. I mean, there are 3 seats open to run.
That's my understanding.
We know.
What happens if Conadieris backs 3 people that are against the project, and then the town council can muddy the waters because then it becomes 3 against 2? Is that a possibility, or am I?
I think you're.
I trust the people on this island. We just had an election this last cycle, and again, I think people are ready to move forward. And so, if there's a slate of candidates that wants to go backwards, that's fine. Let the people decide that. But I trust the people of this island to
Okay.
decide, and I think we're going to be fine.
Cool. What other
All right.
questions do you have?
No, I don't have a question. I was.
Do you want to ask if you worked for Pence?
Well, you did. He said when you worked for 2 governors, and one of them was Pence, right?
I served as chief of staff for his last 2.5 years.
How can we get him on the show?
He comes to Sanibel
I
on
know.
a regular basis.
So
Yeah.
I need a contact or something. I need a press contact.
Come on.
I'm
We'll
not
have
afraid
you
to.
both back on.
That's very kind.
Anything else you want? I know you want people to contact you to ask questions, or you want
or
them to
share ideas.
So how do you want them to do that?
Best is to shoot me an email, and my email address is Atterholt, ATTERHOLT, James, JAMES, 7390 at Comcast.net. That's in my letter to the editor. And just shoot me a note. And if you want me to give you a call, just give me your number, and I'll reach out to you. And I just want to hear your ideas, hear your thoughts, hear your vision for the island, and I'm really interested in what you've got to say.
Have you set a date when you'll decide yes or no?
Probably in the next couple weeks.
Couple
my
weeks,
uncle, Jim Steele's agreed to be my treasurer if I decide to run, and he knows a lot of folks on the island. He's been very encouraging. So we'll just see. But I just wanted to kind of send some feelers out and also just take the pulse of the community. And so far, so good. That's really been encouraging.
This weekend has been amazing for the beach to have an event like this. It'd be interesting to see if there are other events that can be created during those slow months so all these businesses can flourish like they're doing this weekend.
I love the idea.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could duplicate what's happening today, multiple weekends in the slow season, it would be spectacular.
Yeah.
So I'd be very supportive of that. I don't know what the answer
I know.
but boy, I'm sure I hunger for it just like you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you come back. Thanks very much, and
It's good to be with you
good
both.
luck.
Thanks, Ed and Kim.
Good luck very
Thank you.
much
Thank
in
you so much
in your
for coming
decision.
down.
And
Thanks
we
for
hope
what you do,
will
by the
run.
way. This is really a great community service. So I appreciate you letting me be part of it.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. All righty. Well, Jim, thanks
Thank
a lot.
you
Enjoy
so
the great
much.
weather
Thank
and
you.
the great
Bye.
weekend, and we'll see you soon. And folks, I did want to mention that we do have some new sponsors that I wanted to tell you about. And as we were talking about boats before, Fort Myers TikiTourist.com. Thanks, Jim. Their Facebook, they have a Facebook page. Fort Myers Tiki